Hi guys, it's Ben Heath from Lead Guru, and in this video, I'm going to talk about learning limited and what it means for your Facebook ad campaigns when you see learning limited pop up alongside one of your ad sets. Is it ruining your campaigns? Do you need to do anything about it? That's what I'm going to quickly cover in this video. Now, before I get into the steps, I'll quickly mention that at the end of this video, I'm going to be talking about a free Facebook advertising resource, a free webinar that I think you're going to find really, really interesting. So make sure you stick around to the end to hear about that. But with that said, let's get into it. So right now, I'm in one of my Facebook ad accounts, and I'm in a campaign. I've just made a few adjustments where you can see that there's a number of ad sets. There's 6 different ad sets in here. These are all in the learning phase. But what you will see is that this one down here says learning limited. You may have seen this pop up in your Facebook ad campaigns alongside one of your ad sets, learning limited, thinking, what is this? It's something fairly new that Facebook have introduced. Maybe thinking, is this an issue? Do I have to turn it off, etc., etc. If we hover over learning limited, you could see what Facebook says. So Facebook is saying here that this ad set isn't generating enough leads to exit the learning phase. Basically, it's stuck in the learning phase. It's not being able to get out of it. This usually occurs when your ad set is limited by audience size, cost control, budget, or other settings. Consider making changes to your ad set to improve performance. So if you see this pop up alongside one of your ad sets, the first thing to think about is the ad set new? If you just launched the ad set, you just made an adjustment, you just launched the campaign, and you see this pop up, it's not necessarily something to worry about. As it says here, this ad set isn't generating enough leads to exit the learning phase. Well, a new ad set, new campaign, etc., is in the learning phase by default anyway. So it won't have exited the learning phase, whether it's you're generating lots of conversions or not, if it's, let's say, less than 24 or 48 hours old. I have seen that error, that warning message pop up even with brand new ad sets, brand new campaigns. It shouldn't do, but it does. So that's the first thing I'd say. If it comes up and your campaign or ad set is new, or you just made a significant adjustment, don't worry about it. Otherwise, is it something you need to worry about? Obviously, it's not ideal. In an ideal world, you would want to be generating enough conversions to be able to not be learning limited, to go through the learning phase, have a fully functioning campaign. But depending on your budget, depending on your audience size, that may not be possible. That's not necessarily something to really worry about. So I get a lot of comments from people saying things like, I'm not generating 50 conversions 50 conversions a week with my conversions campaign. Should I therefore be running a campaign with the traffic objective or the engagement objective or something like that? And my answer is nearly always no, because a partially optimized conversions campaign will still usually outperform a traffic campaign when you're looking to generate conversions. And the same is true with learning limited, okay? If your campaign or your ad set within a campaign is saying learning limited, and you're thinking, I'm not generating enough conversions, therefore I need to use a different campaign objective, a limited learning or a campaign that doesn't have as much data as Facebook would like is still probably going to outperform a different campaign objective. So that's the first thing I'd say is don't necessarily just see learning limited and think, I need to change the campaign objective, I need to change my structure, etc., etc. Always look at your primary metric. So if, for example, you're seeing in results here, this ad set here, for example, learning limited because it's had 0 leads out of this campaign's generated over 1,000 leads. No leads have been generated in this ad set. All the other ad sets that have generated leads, some of which a lot more than others, all say learning. I've just, as I said, made a significant adjustment to these, so they're in the learning process right now. Learning limited in this scenario means there's an issue. Clearly, no leads have been generated. I need to make adjustment to some stuff. I need to do some things in order to make an adjustment. But if I was generating leads, which you can often see when you see learning limited, and if the cost per lead is acceptable, if it's profitable, it's not something I would worry about. A lot of people ask me questions about Facebook warning messages that pop up with Facebook advertising, error messages that pop up, things like that, and they say, is this an issue? And my response will always be, what's your cost per purchase? What's your cost per lead? Because if your cost per purchase or cost per lead is profitable, nothing else matters. Don't worry about any of the other stuff. It's only if those aren't working, then you want to drill down and go, okay, what could be the issue here? Learning limited, that's one of the factors. So if you do see learning limited and you are generating a great cost per lead, great cost per purchase, don't even worry about it. It's not affecting your campaigns. Just crack on. If you're not generating good results and you see learning limited, that's a time where you may want to make some adjustments. So as you can see what Facebook says here, they make some recommendations. The first thing I would look to do if you see learning limited is increase your audience size. It's usually very easy to do if you're using, let's say, a 1% lookalike, for example. You can change that to a 3% or a 5% lookalike, maybe to a 10% lookalike if you're advertising on a local basis. So that's the first and easiest thing to do. Adjust audience size, you don't need to spend any more money, and see how that performs. Also check if you're using any cost controls. This is the second point that Facebook raises here. So did you put a bid cap in place? Is that bid cap a little bit too low? In an ideal world, I always say that bid caps want to be double your target cost per conversion, okay? Which gives you quite a lot of flexibility and a lot of leeway. If you try and have that bid cap too low, your Facebook ad campaign simply won't run. You're gonna see learning limited as an issue. So just whether you're using those, if you are using those, make sure you check those out. Take a look and assess, is this realistic? Is this unrealistic? Do I need to change it? The third and last thing I would recommend changing is budget. Now, I have a sneaky suspicion that Facebook introduced Learning Limited to help convince advertisers to spend more money on Facebook ads. Obviously, Facebook makes its money from its advertisers. Anything they can do to incentivize advertisers to spend more money is going to be beneficial to Facebook. So if they've worked out that across all their advertisers, if they can pop up this Learning Limited error message and say to people, consider changing your budget, they know that a certain percentage of people are going to increase their budget in order to get out of Learning Limited. And I've had a lot of people comment saying, oh, I was told by a Facebook rep that in order to get out of Learning Limited, I should increase my budget, therefore I double my budget. I've heard that, it must have been a dozen times over the last month or so. It's beneficial for Facebook. And always think when you see error messages or best practices come up on Facebook, is that within my interest as an advertiser, or is that within Facebook's interest? Most of the time they align. Facebook wants you to get great results because if you get great results, you spend more money. So most of the time, your interests and Facebook interests are the same, but not always. There are certain scenarios, and I think this is one of them. I think this is why they've introduced Learning Limited, or one of the reasons why they've introduced Learning Limited, is to say, look, you're not spending enough here to get out the learning phase. Try spending more and you'll see better results. So just be aware of that. That's why it's the last thing I would look to change. But it doesn't mean it's not true, okay? You could have a campaign that is not generating any conversions. Let's say you're trying to spend $5 a day and your acceptable cost per lead, your target cost per lead is $30. Well, you're only going to be generating, let's say, roughly one conversion every 6 days. That's not enough. Facebook cannot optimize around that. Facebook say they want more than 50 conversions a week, and that's ideal, definitely. In my experience, if you're generating anything more than 10, 15 conversions in a week, you're fine. You should be using a conversions campaign. If you see Learning Limited, that still shouldn't be an issue. A partially optimized conversions campaign on Facebook can still deliver great results. We see it happen all the time. But that's what I would say about the Learning Limited. If your results are great, or at least good, don't even worry about it. If they aren't, go through their list of suggestions in order. So first thing you want to adjust is your audience size. Does that make a difference? Give that 5 to 7 days to see the impact of that. Have you got any cost controls? Are they too restrictive? Okay, look to increase those or remove them altogether. And then if those things don't improve performance, don't get you out of Learning Limited and start generating those leads and purchase for you, that's when I would look to adjust your budget, but only then. But there's been a lot of confusion, a lot of people scared about this Learning Limited. Just have a little think about why that's now popping up, why that's been introduced. I think it's in part to get advertisers to spend more money. Therefore, it's not necessarily something that you need to panic about when it pops up, just to be aware of what it means and what you can do to help improve your campaigns if they are performing well and you are seeing Learning Limited. Okay, with that said, I mentioned at the beginning of the video that I had a free Facebook advertising resource that I wanted to tell you about. I'm going to quickly do that now. Now, I've created a training, a free webinar called 3 Killer Facebook Ad Strategies to Double or More Your Revenue. And if you want better results from Facebook advertising, I would strongly recommend you check it out. In this webinar, I'll go through 3 strategies that we use all the time as a Facebook ads agency that deliver fantastic results. These 3 strategies are tailored and adjusted depending on the type of business that you have. And I think that's really important because a lot of people preach a one-size-fits-all approach when it comes to Facebook advertising. That doesn't work. That's why I've got 3 strategies in this webinar, because I'll say, look, if you sell e-commerce products that cost on average $40 each, you need to use this strategy. If you're trying to sell a $5,000 service, you need to use this strategy. If you're a coach, consultant, selling a course, information training product, you need to use this strategy. So I'd strongly recommend you go ahead, check out this free webinar, completely free. You can register, just click on the link in the video description. You can go through, it's about 60 minutes long. I strongly recommend you go through it. It doesn't matter how engaging your ad creative is, how detailed your targeting is, how well you put a Facebook ad campaign together. If you use the wrong strategy for your business, which I see so many people do, so many people think you need really complex sales funnels. You don't. Your campaigns aren't going to work if you use the wrong strategy. You have to use the right strategy, and that's what I help explain in this webinar. So go ahead and check that out. Let me know what you think of it in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please share it, comment below to let me know. Comment below with any questions. Happy to answer any questions about Learning Limited, about the learning phase, or anything else to do with Facebook advertising. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and turn on notifications. I release Facebook advertising related content like this all the time. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.